Hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Okay. Good enough. Hello. I almost said good morning, but it's really afternoon. So, good afternoon. I was safe grabbing my tea. I had to grab it out of the microwave, so, you know, it was kind of dangerous. Hi V, hi Terry, how are you guys? Good to see you here. Forgot what I was gonna say. Yes, announcements. I might wait a little bit in case anybody else is gonna jump in. But I had a thought. No, that's the wrong thing. Want to change this color. Also, I was feeling Animal Crossing, and does that look better? I was feeling Animal Crossing and rain because it's rainy today and we're under a tornado watch, so I may or may not have to like pay attention to the weather. Because the severe time frame was like 1 to 8 or something, and it's now 1 my time. So, and I mean, you can't go, I'm trying to get this to look decent. You can't go wrong with Animal Crossing, so. I I'm so OCD. Okay, good enough. Does that look okay? Doing pretty good. I suggest putting it in a mug or something instead of outright grabbing it. Well, it was already in a mug. God, I really don't like how I look, but, you know, that's just how it is sometimes. Hello? Animal Crossing is always a grand choice. This is true. So, I should probably have my phone in front of me instead of to the side, but... So how is everyone's day going? Terry, thanks, but... I was gonna say you're biased because you know me, kind of, but... I mean, you know me. But... I guess... I don't know. I don't know! Just never mind. Am I dropping frames? Why am I turning red here? He right. Well, thank you, V. Thank you, Terry. If the audio levels are okay, I may go ahead and get started and then do the announcements after a couple chapters. And you are both mods. You already know this because I already sent you a message, but if you want to be thinking about a sound effect that you want for the channel, I'd be more than happy to make those for you because it is like a redemption, it's a reward. Hello, am I back? Are we working again? I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened. The internet just decided to poop out. I don't really know. Hopefully I'm back. Hopefully you're back, but Terry is going away, so be safe, have fun. Okay, I must be back because my phone is telling me to go to my live dashboard, so hopefully all is well now. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. I just started the music over so I could listen to it. I don't really know. Let me know if the music sounds okay, if it's too loud, too soft, blah blah blah. I'll go ahead and start the book soon, but making sure everything's good. Okay. Okay, gotcha, I see you again. Okay, good. Good. You know what's weird? It doesn't show you on my user list in chat. That's really weird. I mean, it's fine. I'm not gonna call anybody out, but I was just trying to see if you were here to tell me if I was live, but okay. That's weird. And I wanted to make sure my chat worked. I had to restart it, but I exist! Okay, good. I'm glad you exist. I'm very glad you exist. I'm here again too. Yay! So this isn't really an announcement because, I don't know, it's just a part of my life. I mean, it's all a part of my life. Still trying to figure out if I exist. You definitely exist. So here is my tattoo. It's not finished yet, but a lot more has been added to it. If you can tell, it's very colorful. This is very hard to do. Okay, turn. And I got this glare happening. Yeah. Looking good, thanks. But yeah, anyways, and like the negative space. I need like an autofocus or something. The negative space is the snowflakes up here is my skin. I really liked how that turned out. She has to go through and like blend some more, blend the colors and do a little bit more edging, like with that thing that she has going there. She needs to do like the whole thing. But I had to stop at 3.5 hours because I was losing my pain tolerance, so also this is not really, I guess it's an announcement, but they're not the announcements I was gonna make. Nice tat, thanks. We're 4 away from, sorry, that music. We are 4 away from doing a giveaway for a Nancy Drew book. I'm not sure which book it is yet because I need to go through my duplicates and see. I just really need to take inventory of my collection and see what I have that I can give away, because I have a lot, but I don't know what is good, and maybe I could even do like a vote for what you want given away first. I don't know. So, yeah, we're 4 followers away from doing a giveaway. I know 150 is not that many followers, but since I'm so inconsistent with my streaming, it's taken me forever to just get to this number. So, it's a goal coming to completion for me, and next time I'll just start another goal and do another giveaway again. So, yeah, 150 is still good, thanks. Well, I feel like it's good for me. I mean, it's not about the numbers because, I mean, numbers are important if you want to grow your channel, but quality over quantity is more important to me because I do this to hang out with you guys. You're my friends. And so if I don't have anybody like hanging out in chat, it's not as exciting. I mean, I'll still do it if like people want to catch up with the VODs or whatever. But I always appreciate having people in chat to like talk to and just hang out, because that's why I stream. That's why I like to stream. So, before I start getting more sappy. Stands on the street corner with a sign, go Thanks, V. Sounds good. You won't, I'm sure nobody will like stop you on the street and be like, are you allowed to do that? It'll be fine. You won't get arrested. Adds an extra sign, don't be a creeper. Yeah. Yeah, you can't guarantee not having creepers if you're standing on the street and just asking people to follow that way. You run that risk. I feel like you're giving me a shout out within my own channel, which is funny, but you know. Okay. I think those are the pre-announcements that I'm gonna do, and then I'll wait to do the main announcements after we get through a couple chapters of The Mystery of the Ivory Charm. Thank you for shouting out myself in my own channel, Dr. Terror House of Horror. Not that you guys aren't following each other, but I want to give a shout out. Aw, Betty is Paige's friend. To Dr. Terror House of Horror. He is a great streamer. He streams a lot of Pokemon. He does read streams occasionally that I really enjoy. Very relaxing. And thank you. I was just about to get to VBudkey. Thank you very much. If I miss any announcements, please give me highlights later. Yes, I will. I'll probably, after I say something on stream, I'll say something in the Discord as well. So just so you guys know what's going on. But yes, please follow VBudkey, who also does Pokemon. A lot of Nancy Drew. She's a variety streamer. They both like RPGs. Actually gotta head out and pack my bag before I go. Good luck with streaming. I'll go try to slide back in. Okay, no worries. I didn't realize you were leaving today, but that makes sense because you're streaming tomorrow. So, I hope you had a great trip. I hope you have a safe trip back. Good luck packing. I was gonna say give your grandmother some love from me, but she doesn't know who I am, so that might be a little weird. But, nonetheless, I hope you had a great time, and be safe. We'll see you soon. So, sorry I didn't get to read while you were here. Just kind of rambling, but we're gonna start. So, we made it to chapter 11? 9? Hold on, 11. Really? Yeah, it's chapter 11. Okay. I'm trying to remember what happened. Oh, there's something about the Indian boy. Koya. I do like that they changed that name in the revised edition because Koya, what's Indian about Koya? I don't even know what kind of name that is, Koya. Anyways, they were exploring this abandoned house where they met that weird guy who was passed out and claimed that Koya was the one who knocked him out or something. Koya was like doing some acrobatics. And then this professor is tutoring Koya in English. Dr. Stackpole is his name. I guess he was chanting. And somebody came to the house while Koya was chanting, and it was Anita Allison and some stranger. And they're talking about oh, there we go. Sorry, I got the email that you followed before it came through, so I was like looking for it. Thank you very much for the follow, Scorn Symbiote Woofy. Can I call you Woofy? Is that okay? Or Scorn? Hello, CJ. Welcome for joining. Sounds like they threw letters together and claimed it was a name. Yeah, pretty much. What, like CJ? Like Chicken Journal? Chicken Journal's a legitimate name. Then something else happened. Well, cool, we're 3 away now from 150, which is the giveaway trigger. Oh, thank you for shouting out. CJ, who was last streaming Roller Coaster Tycoon, like, what, a year ago? Or am I... No, not a year ago. 6 months ago? No. Probably before then. When did you stream last? I almost feel like I need to reread the last chapter. There's something about finding out that Koya is of royal birth. in India. 'Twas a long time ago I played that, indeed. Maybe it'll jog my memory once I start reading, because I feel like I'm just wasting time. So, it's already almost 1:30. So, let's get started. Chapter 11, Trespassers. Unaware of the reason for Nancy displaying such interest in the Sanskrit readings, George and Bess wandered some distance from the abandoned house. Wolfie. Okay, awesome. I like your name, Wolfie. Welcome to the channel. I was going to do an introduction, but I started reading and I forgot. Basically, I'm a variety streamer. I do a lot of Nancy Drew. I do reading streams, which are mostly Nancy Drew based, except for like special occasions. Maybe eventually I'll read something else, but right now I'm just going through Nancy Drew. I also play Stardew Valley. Occasionally, first-person shooters like Battlefield and Star Wars Battlefront. My stream won't work. Can you hear me? Is anybody else having problems? Everything seems to be good on my end unless the internet went out again and it hasn't caught up. I can hear and see you fine. Okay. I'm sorry, CJ. What else do I play? Stardew Valley, I already said that. I would like to start... I do play Skyrim off stream, but I would like to start a Skyrim stream. I just have to get my Switch set up in this room. What else do I play? Sims, yes, Sims. Thank you, Terry. Can't even think. But yeah, welcome to the channel. Welcome for joining. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy your time here. Okay, continuing. For real now. Okay. Suppose we take another look at that door in the rock, George proposed suddenly. I imagine it might open from the outside if only we can discover the secret. Nancy may want to return home soon, Bess said doubtfully. Oh, she'll be listening to that woman for a long while yet. I never thought Nancy would take stock in such psychic nonsense. The girls walked rapidly through the woods. Selecting a more direct route than the one which followed the road, they soon emerged at the high cliff. Even at close range, the door in the rock... excuse me. The door in the rock was not visible, but they knew its exact location and readily traced its indistinct outline. There doesn't seem to be a single thing to push or pull, George commented after running her hand over the entire door. It just isn't supposed to open, I guess. Scarcely had she spoken when the two girls were startled to hear a slight clicking sound which seemed to come from within the rock. What did you do then, George? Nothing. My hand wasn't even near the rock. George and Bess fell back a step, staring in amazement. The door was slowly swinging outward. Before they could recover from their surprise, a tall, muscular man emerged from the opening. He stood framed against the dark interior of the tunnel, holding the door to prevent it from closing behind him. What are you doing here? He asked gruffly. Why, nothing, George stammered. You must leave instantly. As George and Bess turned to retrace their steps along the forest trail, the man commanded sharply, Not that way! Closing the door in the rock, he indicated that the girls were to follow him. He led them directly to the road. Follow this to the main highway, he instructed, scowling, and never come here again without written permission from the owner. Bess and George scurried down the road, at the first bend pausing to glance back. The man had not moved from his position. He was still watching them. Now how are we to find Nancy? Bess asked when they were out of sight. She'll be waiting at the house for us. If she doesn't return to the car, we'll have to double back and take a chance of being caught. I'd not care to meet that horrid man a second time. George, doesn't it seem to you as if we've met him before? Not to my knowledge. Still, his face was somewhat familiar. I was too nervous to look at him very closely. I'm certain I've seen him before, George. Oh, now I remember. It was that man we met at the ballpark. Steve Roach. You're right, Bess. He wore different clothes today, but I believe he's the same person. I don't remember this guy, but CJ, you're exactly right. Nancy said he was a friend of Miss Allison, too, Bess continued. Apparently, he's taken it upon himself to protect her property. The girls had reached the parked automobile. They paused there and were debating their next action when a figure emerged from among the trees. Nancy! Bess exclaimed in relief. We were worrying about you. And I've been engaged in a similar pastime, Nancy smiled. I had no idea what became of you. Bess and George quickly explained where they had gone and told of their unpleasant meeting with Steve Roach. That man won't keep me away from here if I choose to come again, Nancy declared with a quick toss of her head. I tried to do a hair flip and just rammed my hand into the headphones. I doubt that Miss Allison ever gave him the authority to order people away from her property. From the property. I wish you had been along with us, Bess said. We were so startled that we scarcely defended ourselves at all. They didn't even say anything. I'd like to talk with Mr. Roach. Perhaps he's still at the cliff, George suggested. Nancy glanced at her wristwatch. It's late now, and we really should be getting back to River Heights. Did you manage to see Jasper Bat? Bess inquired as they climbed into the car. Nancy laughed ruefully. I certainly did, and in a most unexpected way. Don't keep us in suspense, George said impatiently. What happened? While Miss Allison and I were talking, Jasper Bat came out of the house and accosted me. He arrived at just the wrong moment, for the woman was just on the verge of revealing some important information. Did the man accuse you again of stealing his papers? Bess asked with a smile. Oh yes, he made a scene. I don't know what Miss Allison thought of it all. Anyway, I managed to quiet him after a time, and then I came to search for you and George. What is this information Miss Allison was about to reveal? Bess questioned as the car turned into the main highway. Oh, she wouldn't say another word after Mr. Bat appeared. It was provoking. I thought she was going to tell me something important about Koya's parentage. In response to the questions of her chums, Nancy went on to state her theory regarding the manner whereby the Indian lad had been brought to the United States. It's an interesting idea, Bess commented. Is that the most you can say for it? Well, Bess hesitated, unwilling to offend her chum. The theory is so startling, it's a little hard to accept, but the case does have some baffling angles to it. I'm only starting to work on it, Nancy announced with relish. This is the most interesting mystery I have ever encountered. That's what you always say, George chuckled. Perhaps I do, but I believe you'll agree with me before we're through with this affair. The car was speeding along an open country road. Since when did they get in the car? Nancy slowed down for a curve, then, to the surprise of her companions, she quickly put on the foot brake. Now what? George demanded. Don't tell me we have a flat tire. Nancy smilingly shook her head. She indicated a large signboard in a field to the left of the road. See that poster, girls? A circus is coming to town. Not to River Heights, Bess said in disappointment as she turned to read the sign. It's showing at Hanover the 20th of this month. And that's only a day away, Nancy added. But you missed the significant part. Oh, Bess exclaimed. It's the Bingleton Circus. That was the one Rye was with, wasn't it? Nancy nodded. Girls, let's plan to attend, she urged eagerly. I'm curious to learn if Rye is still in the troupe. I never turned down an invitation to the circus, George said cheerfully. I'd love to go, Bess added quickly. Will you take Koya, Nancy? I think not. His recollections of the circus are not very pleasant, and he seems to be afraid of encountering Rye again. I believe it would be wise not to mention the matter to him at all. Koya may see one of the posters, George suggested. I'll try to keep him close at home for the next few days. After dropping Bess and George at a downtown department store, Nancy continued toward her own residence. She was in great haste to arrive, for this was one of the afternoons designated for Professor Stackpole to tutor Koya, and she wished to talk to the distinguished gentleman before he should leave the house. As Nancy ran up the front steps, the man was politely bidding Mrs. Gruen good afternoon. The door behind him closed. "Are lessons over so soon?" Nancy inquired with a smile. "Yes, it did not take me long to hear them. Koya is a brilliant student." "I'm delighted to learn that, Dr. Stackpole. The lad's mind never ceases to amaze me, Miss Drew. His knowledge of Indian history is astounding, and he seems to be well versed in the traditions of various royal families." "I've often wondered if perhaps Koya doesn't come from such a family himself," Nancy interposed quickly. She half expected that Professor Stackpole would laugh away the suggestion, but instead he regarded her soberly. "That possibility has occurred to me, Miss Drew. Do you know anything of the lad's parentage?" Nancy described her first meeting with Rai and Koya, adding thereto a little of the evidence she had gleaned from Miss Allison. As she mentioned the Sanskrit readings and the name of Yama-Togara, which sounds much more Japanese, Professor Stackpole's interest increased. "Yama-Togara is a well-known ruler of a small but wealthy province in India," he explained. "As I recall, the man took the throne under rather peculiar circumstances, but the details have slipped my mind. If you wish, I'll look up the data for you." "I'd appreciate it, Dr. Stackpole," Nancy said gratefully. The tutor bowed politely and took his leave. Before the man was out of sight, the front door opened and Koya emerged. Nancy glanced at him sharply, wondering if he had been listening to the conversation. "What is it that you want?" she inquired, as the boy regarded her with an intent gaze. "Koya have sudden premonition." "Did you learn that big word in your English lesson today?" Nancy questioned, smiling. Koya appeared not to hear her. "I have strange premonition," he repeated impressively. "Strange vision. Koya see himself on way to India to rule as great Raja. Great honor come to me through help of Nancy." "Who ever heard such nonsense?" Who ever heard such nonsense? A familiar voice demanded from the doorway. "Forget your premonitions, Koya, and start polishing the family car. If you don't, I have a premonition you'll get no supper." Hannah Gruen emerged from the house, broom in hand, and Koya, thinking that she intended to use it on him, hastily fled. The housekeeper chuckled as she began to sweep the front porch, yet her voice held a note of irritation as she said to Nancy, "That boy is rather provoking at times. Imagining himself a king? The next thing we know, he'll think he's too good to work." "He hasn't shown any disposition to shirk yet." "Perhaps not, but I don't aim to let the germ take root." Remember, this is 1936. This is not the revised edition, so it is pretty much blatantly racist, unfortunately. After Mrs. Gruen had gone back into the house, Nancy idled about the garden until her father came home. Making certain that Koya was not within hearing distance, she told him about the Bingleton Circus showing at Hanover. "If I can get away from the office, I'll run over with you," he promised. "And perhaps you'd like to visit the abandoned Allison house?" Nancy inquired slightly. "It's on the way." "All right," the lawyer agreed. "You've told me so many wild tales about the place that I admit I've grown curious." Nancy was awake early the next morning. She helped Hannah prepare breakfast, and then, while she was waiting for her father to come downstairs, she unfolded the newspaper. Casually, her eyes scanned the headlines. She uttered a startled exclamation which penetrated to the far corners of the house. "Dad! Mrs. Gruen!" she called. "Just come and read this!" End of chapter 11. Okay. Steve, what? What? Oh, I wish it was Steve Rogers. Yeah, it's pretty close, Steve Rogers, Steve Roach. He's actually Steve. Tossing one's head sounds difficult and dangerous. Everything I do is so interesting, always. I get too many circus invitations, I have to turn some down. Lucky the few times I got invited to the circus, they took back their invite and said they were only clowning. Are there clowns at circuses? Yeah, I guess. Womp womp. This is weird. Your facial expressions are good, though. Use the broom to sweep away the blatant racism. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. How dare he have agency and dreams, right? And I hate that Hannah's like the catalyst of the racism, because Hannah's supposed to be really sweet, and she's just being a total not very nice word to Koya. Thank you for clapping, Rainbow. Hello, Riddy. Welcome for joining. Hope you're all well. I hope you are well, Riddy. PG. That is why I said not very nice word. Yep. Not all of my streams are family friendly, but I decided to make my reading streams family friendly in case there are kids that want to listen to Nancy Drew, or just younger audience members that I won't curse or be otherwise inappropriate on my reading streams. Sims, on the other hand, is very inappropriate and not family friendly, as I'm sure everyone here can attest. But yes, my reading streams are family friendly. And I will keep them PG. But thank you for the reminder, Woofy. Almost slipped there. Yeah, I just don't like that Hannah's being the bad guy in this, because she's usually so sweet, you know? But she's not being nice to Koya. Welcome to the family, friend. Anyways, I'll do another chapter, and then we can do the big announcements. Okay, chapter 12. A box of treasure. Dear me, what is it now? Mrs. Gruen inquired, hurrying from the kitchen. When you shriek like that, Nancy, you scare a body half out of his wits. Just look at this paper, Nancy cried, thrusting it into the housekeeper's hand. It says something about 2 mail train robbers being captured? Is that what you mean? No, you're looking at the wrong story. Here, the one about the fire. By this time, Carson Drew had come down the stairs. What's this about a fire? He asked. Oh, Dad, the old house burned down last night. There are a large number of old houses in the vicinity of River Heights, Mr. Drew smiled. I mean Allison's place. You know, the house I've been telling you about all week? And good riddance, in my opinion, Mrs. Gruen declared firmly, offering the newspaper to the lawyer. Now that the house is burned down, maybe Nancy will forget about it. I declare. I swear it says, I declare. I declare, between her talk of solving another mystery and Koya's claim that he's a king, it's a wonder I don't lose my mind. Speaking of fires, I think I smell something burning now, Mr. Drew said, sniffing the air. Oh, mercy! The bacon! Mrs. Gruen turned and fled to the kitchen. I don't know why I find that funny. Carson Drew quickly scanned the newspaper account. According to the story, the blaze had started during the night and was of unknown origin. A passing motorist had called the River Heights Fire Department, but before the engines could reach the scene, the building had been destroyed. It's queer Jasper Bat didn't discover the fire in time to save the building, Nancy commented musingly. Probably he wasn't even on the premises. From what you've told me of him, Nancy, he couldn't have been a very reliable watchman. Possibly the fire started from a match, or a cigarette which he dropped himself. Nancy nodded soberly. Or it may have been set deliberately by someone who wished to conceal forever the secrets of that house. I guess the place doesn't represent much of a loss to Miss Allison, the lawyer said. It would soon need to be torn down anyway. Oh, the house had no intrinsic value, Nancy agreed. but I can't help thinking that someone was afraid to let it remain standing. You believe Miss Allison set fire to her own house? Mr. Drew questioned with a smile. No, I hardly think she would do such a thing. I really have no theory about the fire at all. But I should like to drive out this morning and look at the ruins. Apparently you've forgotten that this is circus day. No, I haven't. We can stop at Miss Allison's property on the way to Hanover. Sorry. I'll telephone Bess and George and see if they'll be able to start early. The plan suits me, Mr. Drew agreed. I've arranged to be away from the office all day. Directly after breakfast, Nancy talked with her chums over the telephone, making an appointment to call for them with the car at 10 o'clock. The girls were waiting when Mr. Drew and his daughter drove up at the Marvin residence, and a short ride brought them within view of the Allison property. Disregarding Steve Roach's recent warning not to trespass, the four walked rapidly through the woods to the clearing where the old house had stood. Now it was only a smoking ruin. Nancy's eye roamed from the pile of debris to a lone figure working among the wreckage. Why, it's Miss Allison, she exclaimed in astonishment. What is she trying to do? They hurried forward to find the woman endeavoring vainly to move several half-burned timbers which blocked the stone stairway leading down into the secret tunnel. Secret tunnel! As Miss Allison turned to face the newcomers, her eyes filled with tears. Here, you shouldn't be doing work like that, Mr. Drew said sternly. If the timbers must be moved now, let me do it. I've been trying for an hour to get into the tunnel, Miss Allison half sobbed. I'm completely worn out. Why not wait until some of the debris has been cleared away? Nancy suggested. Oh, you don't understand. I'm afraid to wait even a day. Someone may steal my precious treasures. Treasures? Nancy asked, bewildered. They're hidden in the tunnel. Many boxes of priceless wares. I must remove them before anyone comes. Oh, Miss Drew, if you and your father will only help me, I'll be so grateful. Of course we'll help, Mr. Drew said quickly. If these timbers are cool enough to handle, I think we can get into the tunnel. Wouldn't it be easier to enter the passageway by means of the door in the rock? Nancy questioned. Miss Allison glanced sharply at the girl, but if it occurred to her to wonder how Nancy chanced to be so well informed regarding the secrets of the tunnel, she refrained from saying so. Instead, she murmured impatiently, No, we cannot enter that way. Fortunately, the portion of the basement in which the stone stairway stood had not entirely burned, and so was fairly clear of debris. In a short while, Mr. Drew had dragged away the timbers blocking the passage. It isn't very safe to enter just yet, he cautioned Miss Allison. One easily might be overcome by fumes or heat. The air in the tunnel will be cool and clear, she consisted. I must save my treasures. Then I'll go with you, the lawyer was compelled to offer. But I feel that the undertaking may be a dangerous one. You girls remain here. Bess and George looked relieved, for they had been eyeing the great smoking hole with misgivings. Nancy, on the other hand, could not bear to remain behind. You'll need me to help you, she said to her father. I prefer that you remain above, Nancy. It's no more dangerous for me than for you, Dad. Oh, well, come along, Mr. Drew said. Leaving Bess and George behind, the three swiftly descended into the tunnel. The fumes were even more unpleasant than they had anticipated. Both Miss Allison and Nancy were choking and coughing before they reached the cooler interior of the underground passage. Miss Allison went directly to a secret branch-off. She groped her way along until she located a rectangular stone set high up in the wall. Her hand moved deftly over it to touch a hidden spring. Nancy and her father heard a faint click. Then the woman tugged at the block, and it slipped outward from its place in the wall. In the cavity were several small boxes. Your treasures seem to be safe where they are, Mr. Drew commented. I doubt that anyone would ever suspect such a clever hiding place. I dare not leave the boxes here, Miss Allison declared. They must be taken to a bank vault. Well, that may be the best thing to do, the lawyer admitted. It shouldn't take us long to remove the boxes. He lifted several of them to the floor of the passageway, noticing their weight. It occurred to him to wonder what might be the nature of the contents, but Miss Allison offered no information, and he tactfully refrained from asking her. Nancy bent down to pick up a small package, only to have Miss Allison say quickly, "No, I'll take that one." So the girl selected another box. Her father lifted one of the heavy cartons, and with Miss Allison bringing up the rear, they started with their burdens down the tunnel. Carson Drew, who was in the lead, suddenly halted. As yet, Nancy and Miss Allison had heard no unusual sound. Suddenly, a loud, rumbling noise thundered through the tunnel, and a few loose stones overhead came clattering down dangerously near their heads. The lawyer pushed his daughter and Miss Allison back against the wall, saying sharply, "Don't move!" They huddled there for several minutes until the stones had ceased to fall. A thick cloud of dust filled the passageway. "There's been a cave-in somewhere ahead," Mr. Drew said tensely. "Let's get out of here before we're buried alive." "We can't leave my treasures behind!" Miss Allison cried in distress as she saw that Mr. Drew intended to abandon the boxes. "They represent a fortune!" Considering the emergency, Nancy and her father thought that the woman was somewhat selfish to place her own interests above their lives, but knowing that it would take less time to carry the boxes than to make Miss Allison understand the need for haste, they resumed their burdens and hurried down the tunnel. They were able to go only a short distance. Rounding a slight turn in the passageway, they were dismayed to find it blocked by a pile of dirt, rock, and overhead beams which had given way during the cave-in. "I was afraid of this," Mr. Drew exclaimed. "We're trapped." "Oh, what shall we do? What shall we do?" Miss Allison wailed. "We'll never get out of here alive." Sinking down on one of the boxes of treasure, she sobbed hysterically. "The situation probably isn't as serious as it appears," Mr. Drew said with forced cheerfulness. "If we're unable to dig our way out, Bess and George may soon realize that something is wrong and send help." "The cave-in doesn't extend very far," Nancy cried. She had been pulling and tugging at one of the half-buried timbers. "We're near the main tunnel entrance, and I think I can see a faint streak of light." "You're right, Nancy," Carson Drew agreed jubilantly. We may get out of here by our own efforts yet." The two fell to work with a will, succeeding after some time of back-breaking labor in slightly The two fell to work with a will, succeeding after some time of back-breaking labor in slightly enlarging the aperture. But beyond that point, they could not budge the heavy beams. "If I only had a few tools, we'd soon be out of here," the lawyer said in disappointment as he sank down on the floor of the tunnel to rest. "As it is, I fear we're trapped. We must wait for a rescue." Nancy measured the opening with her eye. "I believe I could crawl through, Dad." "You're not large, Nancy, but you're not that small either." "If you'll help a little, I think I can make it. I'll try, anyway." Before Mr. Drew could protest, Nancy thrust her head and shoulders into the yawning hole. Midway through, she wedged fast. She squirmed and twisted, unable to move either forward or backward. Then, by sheer strength, Mr. Drew pushed her through to the other side. "Now I'll help you and Miss Allison," Nancy called back. Her father's muffled voice came to her from the opposite side of the debris. "We could never make it. Go for help." Nancy ran to the main tunnel and was relieved to find it clear. She raced up the stone stairs, accosting Bess and George, who were idly regarding the ruins. "Come quickly and help," Nancy pleaded. "Miss Allison and my father are trapped in the tunnel." "Trapped?" Bess gasped. "Yes, in the branch-off. There was a bad cave-in." Thoroughly alarmed, Bess and George followed Nancy down into the tunnel. For half an hour they worked like beavers, trying to dislodge rocks and timbers. Without tools, the work progressed at a slow pace. Okay, let me pause here. They're not professionals. I'm pretty sure in this kind of situation, if they were moving things all themselves, they would be risking causing another cave-in and burying them alive. Right? This doesn't seem that realistic, but then again, when does it ever? "We're all nearly exhausted," Nancy admitted at last. "I must go for help." She ran back to the entrance, there to encounter Ned Nickerson, who had driven out to the Allison property to view the burned building. "I thought for a minute that you were a ghost arising from the wreckage," the young man exclaimed. "Oh, Ned, we need your help," Nancy cried. "Dad and Miss Allison have been trapped by a cave-in." Upon learning of the disaster, Ned did not waste precious moments asking useless questions. I love Ned, but that just kind of gave a point to the other side. Grimly, he followed Nancy down into the tunnel and set to work. The girls could have embraced him from sheer joy when he presently heaved aside the huge beam which barred the opening. Miss Allison, pale and shaken, was lifted through, then Carson Drew followed. "We must take the boxes," the woman murmured weakly. "I'll not stir from this passage without them." To quiet the woman, Ned climbed back into the hole, handing out the heavy cartons one by one to Carson Drew. The girls helped to carry them from the tunnel. Unaware of the importance of the task, Ned handled the smaller boxes a trifle carelessly. In depositing the last container, he allowed it to drop heavily on the ground. The cover of the box split open, and the contents, a collection of semi-precious stones, flowed in a tiny river of sparkling color over the grass. "Oh, my treasures from India!" Miss Allison shrieked in anguish. "Save them!" "Gee, I'm sorry," Ned muttered. "Why didn't someone tell me I was carrying jewels?" He turned apologetically toward the woman and was dismayed to see her sagging toward the ground in a faint. End of chapter 12. That was quite the chapter, and I saw something about the music. I agree that this music didn't really go with the situation. That broom changed her. Sims has a rating all its own. It's true. Sims is quite its own special thing. Terror twirls are best twirls. Hey, that is a relatively tame quote. Hey, Joni, how are you? Are you guys under tornado watch too? We are, obviously, since I asked that question. The bacon! Not the bacon! Yeah, I thought that was pretty dramatic. Secret tunnel, secret tunnel. Nancy wanting to take the easy way? Psh, not likely. The stone stairway stood staring straight at Steve. The ceiling where the stone stairway stood. That's tough to say. Yeah. Soldier's shoulders said Shasta. I took forever to write on mobile. Yeah. Hits one letter at a time with index finger. Yeah. I'm doing it now on my computer lying down. Also hitting enter at the wrong time. Or Bess and George will do nothing at all. Yeah, we need more dramatic music for this part. I guess I could pull up some, like, role-playing music. I'm curious. Peaceful travel, tavern, inn, combat, city, villages, fantasy, legendary, Skyrim. Can't play Skyrim, probably get muted. Music for airports. Medieval, 10 hours of medieval music, relaxing Celtic music. D&D battle music. What does that sound like? Probably gonna be an ad. An ad for the University of Tulsa. Why is it so quiet? can't even hear it. This is better. Although I don't know why it's so quiet, I'll have to turn it up. Hey Nancy, you may be trapped, but here's a giant Sudoku. I just need it solved before we can actually help you. Don't worry, I'm a professional rock remover. He didn't on this occasion only. Ned, you doofus. It went with clumsy Ned well. Welcome for agreeing. Yes, thunderstorm and tornado. Yeah. Okay. I think this music is good for the situation. So we'll go with it. Chapter 13. Oh wait, no, I was gonna do announcements. Okay, well now it's more dramatic. We even got singers in the background. Okay, well, let's switch back to Animal Crossing music while I make my announcements. Okay. Dramatic announcement. I mean, it's not that dramatic, but I have two things. Two major things. So, the biggest, arguably the biggest thing, is that I finally got a job. Finally, I got a job. So, I am now employed. I start training for my job on Thursday. So the stream time for Thursday is kind of up in the air, just because I don't know what time I'm getting done with training. It says 2 p.m., but you kind of know how those things go, especially since it's my first day. I'm not sure, like, if I'm gonna need to, like, meet with my supervisor or what have you. So, yeah, I have a job at the library. It is part-time, which is what I wanted. So I'm excited. I'm nervous because I haven't worked in a while, but I'm excited to be back. 5 years later, every day is my first day. It's literally been almost 5 years, which I couldn't believe, but thank you, CJ. Thank you. So I'm excited, as that's my go-to excuse for messing up. Well, it's just training, so I'm sure, and in the beginning, I'm sure they won't expect me to be perfect, so. But there's even a dress code and everything. I can't wear jeans, so it's going to be very different than my other job, because I could wear whatever I want, because everybody expected me to be a student, which I am. Gonna be, you guys know I'm going back to grad school in the fall. Oh, we have messages from our ballet person. I may have to check that in a second. But anyways, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited to, this will be my first time working at a... So, my old job was at the law college, but our law library was technically the only public law library in the state. So it was technically a public library, but most of the patrons were students and faculty. Every once in a while we get public patrons, but obviously they're looking for very specific material and not just browsing. So it didn't feel very public. So this is going to be a very different feel. And it's a small branch. It's not the main branch in my city, which I'm happy about because I like the smaller feel. And since it's smaller, I will be able to do a little bit of everything, which will be really good experience for grad school. So my boss seems really cool. He's very laid back, very straightforward. And I've already met some of the people that I'm working with, and one of them, I can tell they're the kind of people I'll get along with, so I think it's going to be really good. Yay for grad school also, thank you. Onward and upward. Indeed. Life is kind of sorting itself out. I feel like I've been in a very long transition period, and of course this is going to be a little bit of transition just because I'm getting started. And of course with grad school there'll be a transition period there too, but it feels right. And I haven't felt that way in a long time. So it's a good feeling. Second, congrats for the job in case you missed my first way to go. Thank you, Terry. I may have, I'm sorry. Yeah, way to go. Thank you. Thank you, Riddy. Very glad everything is starting to sort itself out. I am too. So my other announcement is really random. And I'm also very excited about this. I'm going to be going to Shanghai at the end of May. That's very exciting. It just kind of happened randomly. I'm going with one of my friends. She is doing a conference there. She's presenting a keynote speech. And she invited me, and I was like, well, I probably can't go unless there's a flight deal. Well, guess what? I found a flight deal. I have to fly to Phoenix first, but it's not that much more because I'm going to get a one-way. It worked out. And I can't believe I'm going to China again. I went to China in 2011, but I went to the southeastern part of China and Hong Kong, which is going to be completely different. Shanghai is huge, obviously, and I've been watching videos and stuff, and I'm pretty excited. I'm really excited about the food. I love Chinese food so much, and like real Chinese food, not Americanized Chinese food, because Americanized Chinese food sucks. Just saying, probably an unpopular opinion, but the real stuff is amazing. It's completely different. Yeah. Deals are great. They are great. And of course it's still expensive because it's an international trip, but I don't have to pay for any lodging. My friend has friends that live in China that are going to be taking us around. So, like, I'm probably not going to have to worry about transportation and stuff. I think they have a car, which I think driving will be really, not me driving, but riding in the car will be really scary. But I've done it before in China, just not in a city that big. But it will be scary. I did ride in a bus in Hong Kong. That was scary. I almost got ran over by a bus in Hong Kong because they don't yield to pedestrians. They don't even yield to lights. Like, they're just there as suggestions and everybody ignores them. They just do whatever they want. It's ridiculous. So you have to be very careful as a pedestrian in China. It is scary, but I hope the co-workers prove to not suck. I mean, the full-time person who will probably be there a lot, I imagine, when I'm there, she seems really cool. Like, she gave me a tour, and it was real easy to talk to her, and I felt like we had similar personalities, so. Yeah, so I'm gonna start a countdown for that, actually, which, I should have commands for. Timers? No, I don't want a timer. Do I? I leave on the 27th. How does this work? It just says add timer. But it's a countdown. That's a counter. I don't want a counter. Doesn't Streamlabs chatbot have countdown? Oh, I can group my commands? That's cool. Does anybody know if Streamlabs chatbot has countdown commands? Because I can't remember. You know, I'm still trying to move everything over from Nightbot Um, my Animal Crossing music is almost run out, so we'll switch over to D&D. I don't know, but I know you can put a countdown below your stream with widgets or whatever. Oh. I'd rather put it in chat, just so... I don't know. I may have to look it up. But, I guess it is a timer. I'll try the timer command, and if I can't get it, then I will, just do it afterwards. Sounds like a lot of drivers in Chicago. Recently, I was crossing at a stop sign. I was halfway across when somebody, like, sped up, so I stepped back before the person hit me. Oh my god. Terry, I'm glad you're okay. God, people are ridiculous. At least in China, it's a culture of everybody knows that that's what happens. But in here, you know, you're supposed to follow the rules. And if you don't, you can face consequences. And I'm sure there are consequences in China for traffic violations, but I don't know how much they're enforced. Because it's kind of... yeah. That's just kind of how it is. But, yeah, when it happens here, it's like... it's not good because you're not expecting it. And people are supposed to follow the rules. I'm just lucky I pay attention. I'm good for you for paying attention. Yeah, a lot of times, especially on campus, we'll see everybody walking around, like, just looking at their phones and not even looking up when they cross the street. And come on, even if your stoplight thing says go, you should still look. Like, use common sense, people. And that's the end of my Animal Crossing music. Although... this is just continuing, so I'll just let it continue. Timers. I'm sorry, I'm rambling about China. Yeah, I'm preaching it. Sometimes I wonder what would happen to people who don't. Right? It's just sad. Come on, people. Use common sense. It's not that hard. I guess some people just don't have it. Which may not be a fault of their own. It may be their parents didn't raise them with common sense, or who knows. But it's something people should have. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Name. Is it not a count? Is it not a... I don't know. China. No, I'll say Shanghai. Shanghai. Active. Stream chat. General. Response. Wonder if you need the command. I don't know. How do the other ones work? There are... yeah, I'm gonna have to look at the... I'm just gonna have to do this on my own so I don't waste your time. So I will do that in a bit. Okay, that thunder was on the music, but... oh, I need to check my email. How about people just walking down the sidewalk and they never look up from their phone, ever? I'm walking right towards them if I didn't move out of the way, right? Yeah. Among the saddest to me are the parents walking their baby in a stroller looking at their phone the entire time. Listen, risk your stupid life. Don't do it to your kids. Right? Yeah. It's pretty sad. Yeah. I definitely hear you. Um, talk amongst yourselves. Let me check something real quick. Of course it didn't come up. Okay. Basically, she's just asking about the weather. I gotta run. Bye, everyone. Congrats on all your good news. Thank you, Joni. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good day. Stay safe. Hopefully nothing happens, but, you know, you never know with this time of year in Oklahoma. So, take care. Yeah, I got an email from our ballet owner, studio owner, that she wants to know if people are coming to class or not, basically, but we're just playing it by ear. I'm just making sure that the thunder is on the music. I'm pretty sure it is. Okay. I'll figure the rest out later. I might just look at the radar to see. Actually, I'll do that on the computer because it's just easier to see what is happening, if there's anything going on. Why did they change that? Is it noaa.nws.gov? No. They changed their domain name. Weather.gov. That's what it is. But I think it used to be NWS. Anyways. Yep. Oh, there's a tornado in northeastern Oklahoma. Hopefully that's not why Joni had to go. Okay, good. It's not in Ponca City. That's where my best friend is. It's moving towards Bartlesville. Hopefully Joni's alright. Cause that is, I'm not sure. Wait, no, wait. No, she should be okay. I actually do know where she lives because it's the same place my parents grew up. And that is not where the tornado is, so she should be good. Because I'm pretty sure it's down here, because, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. There's nothing in my area right now, so we're okay. I'm sorry. Let's continue, shall we? I got all my announcements. I will figure out the stuff later. And we will start the D&D battle music again. I guess let me know how the audio is, because I feel like these levels are different with this music. Glad there's nothing going on around you. Yeah. It makes me really anxious, so when it does happen, I have to just, like, pay attention to the weather. And I can't really do much of anything else, because I'm too anxious to, like, not be informed. So, okay. Let's continue. I'm not sure how much longer I'll go, but Chapter 13. Following Clues. Ned caught Miss Allison as she fell, easing her gently to the ground. This is an ad. University of Tulsa again. Sorry. Okay. The woman's eyelids fluttered open as Nancy and her chums bent over to minister to her, but she did not appear to recognize them. "The treasure!" she whispered. "My precious treasure!" "It is safe. Don't worry about it now," Nancy said kindly. "Ned and I will take the boxes to a bank vault for you if you wish," Mr. Drew added. Miss Allison did not appear to comprehend. A dazed, faraway look came into her eyes, and she muttered incoherently. "What's the matter with her?" Bess whispered anxiously. "I never saw anyone act like this before." "I think she's going into a trance," Nancy declared. As minutes passed and Miss Allison made no effort to arouse herself from the state of semi-stupor, Carson Drew grew impatient. He was half inclined to believe that Miss Allison made no effort to control her nerves and actually tried to create highly emotional scenes. "Something must be done about the treasure," he observed to Ned. "I suggest that we take the boxes to a bank vault while Nancy and the girls remain here with Miss Allison. If the woman isn't better by the time we return, we'll summon a doctor." The strange lady paid scant heed as the jewels which had fallen out on the ground were gathered up and replaced in the broken box. "Now this seems too dramatic." Ned and Mr. Drew carried all of the crates and cartons to the lawyer's automobile, returning to ask Miss Allison the name of her bank. She did not appear to understand the question. "Where shall we deposit the treasure?" Mr. Drew asked. "Have you any preference as to a bank?" "Please don't trouble me now," Miss Allison murmured indifferently. "I am meditating." Finally, after several attempts to discuss the matter, Ned and the lawyer gave it up in disgust. They decided to take the boxes to the River Heights National Bank and accordingly drove away. Left alone with Miss Allison, Nancy and her chums tried to arouse the woman. What the poop was that? Oh, my phone fell. That scared me. Accordingly drove away. Left alone with Miss Allison, Nancy and her chums tried to arouse the woman from her state of stupor. She paid no attention to anything they did or said until Nancy, hopeful of gaining information, deliberately mentioned Koya's name. The word seemed to arouse a strange train of mental pictures in the woman's mind, for she began to mutter again. At first the girls could distinguish nothing, but as Nancy bent over the relaxed figure, she caught enough to comprehend that Miss Allison was speaking of reincarnation. "Gracious!" George exclaimed. "That's a theory of life, isn't it?" "It's something to the effect that after death you'll be reborn as another person or animal." "Oh. Sorry. It's something to the effect that after death you'll be reborn as another person or animal," Bess said with a shudder. Why would Bess know that? "I imagine I'll be a goat," George chuckled, "or an animal equally attractive." "Shh," Nancy warned, for she did not wish to miss a word of what Miss Allison was saying. The woman lapsed into another silence, seemingly disturbed by the interruptions. "You were just speaking of reincarnation," Nancy prompted quietly. Miss Allison made no immediate response. Her eyes had focused upon the elephant charm which hung from its velvet cord about Nancy's throat. With trembling fingers, the woman reached out and touched it reverently. "The ivory charm will bring you good luck," she murmured, "both in this world and the next. After death, you will be reborn. You will enter a higher sphere and enjoy a life more splendid. You, Nancy Drew, will be reborn as a beautiful princess of India." "Oh, Nancy, please don't ask her another question," Bess pleaded, shivering. "I've never heard such dreadful talk before in all my life. It isn't normal. It frightens me." "Don't encourage the woman to say such strange things," George added in a pleading whisper. "Just allow her to remain quiet until your father returns." Here's religious intolerance. Nancy's curiosity had been whetted by Miss Allison's startling prediction. She longed to question the woman further, but with both Bess and George opposed to such a policy, she obediently submitted to their will. Miss Allison lapsed into a moody silence. Presently she fell into a natural sleep from which she awakened in a quarter of an hour. "Dear me, have I been sleeping?" she inquired, looking about in bewilderment. "Where am I?" "Don't you recall the cave-in?" Nancy questioned in amazement. "Oh, yes, now that you speak of it, I do." "Surely you must remember that we carried out several boxes of treasure," Nancy reminded her, "and that a small box of jewels was dropped on the ground." You can't hear the music. Like at all? Or is it really quiet? What about that? Is that better? Is that too loud? It's a little bit dramatic. I'm gonna change it, actually. Better. Okay. I'd like a different... What about this? Ooh, we could listen to Indian music. What am I thinking? Background flute, meditation, Ravi Shankar. Ooh, is that one lady? I like some Indian music because, I took a world music class in undergrad and he had us watch some really good videos of women playing the sitar. Yeah, that's right, the sitar. Oh my gosh, she was so good. I had the song saved, but I don't remember what it is off the top of my head.
Anything on your computer, you need to get Grammarly.
I write pretty much all day.
Women playing. I don't know if the singing works with speaking. I like it, but I think it's too much for... It says background music, but... Okay, that's too relaxing. That makes me feel like I'm getting a massage. 10 hours? This may be good. 10 hours. We'll do this. Let me know how the volume is. If it's too much or if it's okay. Okay. We should have been listening to this the whole time. What was I thinking? Maybe next time I'll, read ahead and then try to get an idea of the music that would fit with the book, the story. Volume seems good. Okay, thank you. Continuing, Miss Allison's blank expression made it evident to the girls that the incident had left no impression upon her mind. "You remember nothing of what you said to Nancy?" George inquired incredulously. Before Miss Allison could answer, Ned Nickerson and Mr. Drew, who had returned from their hasty trip to River Heights, joined the group. "You're looking much better than you were, Miss Allison," the lawyer said. "I feel quite my usual self, thank you. If you'll excuse me, I believe I'll go to my car now." Just a minute, Miss Allison, Carson Drew interposed. Don't you care to hear what disposition we made of your boxes? Boxes? Yes, the treasure which we took from the tunnel. Ned and I deposited everything in a vault at the River Heights National Bank. Here is a receipt and your credentials. Almost stupidly, the woman reached out to accept the papers. Thank you, she murmured. Thank you for your trouble. Abruptly turning, she walked swiftly down the wooded trail toward her car, which had been parked along the road. Well, is that all the appreciation would get for lugging her heavy old boxes? Ned demanded gruffly when the woman had disappeared. She made enough fuss about the treasure before we carted it to the bank. I don't believe Miss Allison is entirely herself, Nancy said. She's been talking very wildly. I doubt that she understood what I was telling her, Carson Drew added with a troubled frown. At any rate, I hope she doesn't lose those papers. Perhaps we can catch her before she leaves and explain matters again, Nancy suggested. They all hastened to the roadside, but Miss Allison had driven away. Mr. Drew consulted his watch and remarked that it was not too late to attend the circus. You'll come with us, won't you, Ned? The youth glanced quickly at Nancy, and upon receiving her eager affirmative signal, declared that he would be pleased to join the party. Hanover was crowded with automobiles, and the streets in the vicinity of the fairgrounds, where the huge circus tents had been erected, were jammed with people, all traveling in the same direction. Carson Drew and his young friends joined the gay throng. Soon they heard the first strains of carnival music and were accosted by ticket sellers, popcorn men, and vendors of red balloons. This will be heaps of fun and well worth the trip, even if we don't find Rye, Nancy declared, skipping gaily along between Ned and her father. Are you quite certain that Rye wasn't just an excuse for the outing? The lawyer teased. Nancy shook her head. No, I'll be bitterly disappointed if we don't find him. We will, don't you think? Now how should I know, Nancy? I haven't Miss Allison's psychic powers. I hope as you do that we'll be able to talk with the man, but he may be traveling with another unit of the Bangleton Circus. I never thought of that, Nancy acknowledged, looking troubled. As I regard it, Mr. Drew said boyishly, the main objective of this trip is to have a good time. So let's have it. We'll worry about Rye later. Switches to circus music. The thought crossed my mind. Opening his wallet, the lawyer stripped off several bills and thrust them into Nancy's hand. Take in the sideshows and buy all the pink lemonade you can drink. Ned and I will meet you inside the big tent. You'll find us by the monkey cage. Buy it, did you say? Nancy laughed. Or in it. The girls linked arms and strolled from one booth to another, listening to the barkers extol the merits of the entertainment within. Now and then they ventured inside, but usually were sorry that they had used up so much precious time. The circus will soon be starting, Nancy presently warned, looking at her wristwatch. Even then they could not hurry, as they moved along the lanes of caged wild animals. They paused to study an ugly snake which lay coiled in its box. It looks a little like your old friend, the one who gave you such a loving squeeze, Bess teased Nancy, and he's eyeing you speculatively now. Then let's move on, Nancy shuddered. I don't trust that fellow. The three girls elbowed through the milling throng, clinging to one another to avoid being separated. As they approached the monkey cage, the crowd became even denser, drawn by the comic antics of the animals. It seemed hopeless to find Mr. Drew and Ned in such a mob. Oh, I see them, Nancy cried presently. Over there on the opposite side of the cage. Before the girls could reach the pair, the crowd grew wildly excited, pushing and shoving in an attempt to move away from the vicinity. What's wrong? Georgia asked, clinging tightly to her chums. Then she saw that a careless guard had left the monkey cage door unbolted, and now a dozen of the mischievous little animals were escaping. One athletic fellow perched himself atop the cage. Two others clung to the outside wire network, while the rest began to terrify the crowd by leaping from one person to another. Nancy and her chums were tempted to laugh, until they found themselves being pushed and trampled by frightened spectators whose only thought was to escape from the scene. The excitement subsided somewhat when a band of guards arrived and by persuasion and force finally caged the truants. Ned and Mr. Drew joined the girls at the first opportunity. Dad, I'm surprised that you'd deliberately unlock a cage door, Nancy laughed. Were you trying to get in? At least no one has tried to feed me peanuts, Mr. Drew rejoined. The circus was just starting, and the party hurried to locate their seats. As they passed near one of the main rings where the show was in progress, a painted clown sighted Ned, and to the hilarious laughter of the audience, pretended to pull a squawking live chicken from beneath his coat. The youth flushed in deep embarrassment and was especially annoyed because Nancy and her chums joined in the merriment. Bess's chuckles were of short duration, for a moment later, as she hastily mounted the board seats, her slipper caught fast and before she could save it, tumbled to the ground some distance below. Ned gallantly went after the shoe and helped her to slip it on again. Before the two reached their seats, they both felt that they had supplied the audience with far more entertainment than had the circus acts, which were in progress. I'm so humiliated I could die, Bess breathed, as she squeezed in between Nancy and George. Forget about it, enjoy the show, George said. No one is looking at you now. The equestrian acts were underway, and the girls were intrigued by the skill displayed by one youthful rider. The aerialists provided many thrills. The animal acts were interesting, though not as exciting as some they had witnessed at other circuses. Nancy began to stir restlessly in her seat. I wish the elephant act would start, she declared. Seemingly, your wish is to be granted, Mr. Drew smiled. Here it comes now. Nancy leaned forward in her seat, her eyes alight with expectation. This was the important moment for which she had waited. She caught a fleeting glimpse of the elephant trainer as he entered the big tent in full regalia. Is it Rye? She whispered tensely. It looks like him from here. End of chapter 13. This music is much better. I forgot about the Humble Board game bundle. Fortunately, I still have about a week. Okay. Do you need me to remind you at a certain time? Oh, that reminds me that I need to get on Steam and download the other games onto this computer because some of them wouldn't install because I bought it on my Mac. So I have to install it on PC. Hopefully it doesn't cause things to go awry on stream, but ghosts knocking over your phone. Goat's the most attractive animal of the animal kingdom. Woman sleeps dramatically. Lol, that might be nice. Women playing the forehead slaps. It's my specialty. I'm the woman who plays the forehead slap. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm dropping frames because I opened Steam. It's just a red block. Calm down. Red Balloon Vendors. It was there. Switches to circus music by the Monkey Cage were in it. Oh snap. She's saying they're great musicians and should join the band. Pretty sure. Though why they keep the monkeys in a cage? Probably all that daydream believin' dangerous stuff. And rumors of escaping via the last train to Clarksville. Wow, you guys with your monkeys knowledge. Bess fell and Ned gallantly rushed to save her shoe. I don't really know what happened there. I'm assuming they mentioned that because something else will happen with her shoe later. I don't know. I have to do that too. Yes, CJ, you do. I already got mine. I paid $9. And I gave 8 of it to charity. The American Brain Tumor Association. Because May, here I'll put a link. May is Brain Tumor Awareness Month, which I found out last year when we came home from the hospital and Keegan, had his brain surgery. And I was like, that is so weird. So, if you would like to donate, I should do that for the month of May. I should set something up. for donations to the American Brain Tumor Association. They do research to prevent brain tumors and how to cope with them and all that kind of stuff. So, that's the organization I chose to give to with my Humble Bundle. Before that, I had the HRC, but it's May. It's almost May, so I wanted to do this for Brain Tumor Awareness Month. But yeah, that's a good idea. I should set up my stream, because I know V, shout out V Vutke, is doing a special thing this month for, is it ALS? Or MS? I can't remember which one, but she's doing special stuff for her donations going to, here, I'll leave that up. Her donations going to one of those organizations for the month of May. So I would like to set up something similar. So I'm getting all these ideas now. Okay. ALS, I think. Okay. I know she was talking about, like, the creator of SpongeBob died from his disease, his fight with the disease, and so she wanted to honor him by doing that. And I thought that was really cool. I'm not a SpongeBob fan, but, you know, I'm more power to her, and it'll be fun to hang out in support of that. So I'll remind myself to do that for May. That'll be exciting. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I'll probably get with V on it, but I'll figure it out. I think we're going to do one more chapter. I didn't intend to go this long, but with the technical difficulties and all the announcements, I think I'd like to do one more, and we can end with that. It is a short chapter. Maybe I'll do 2. Maybe I'll go till 3. So we'll see. We'll just keep going and see how far I get. So, Chapter 14, A Bitter Disappointment. The 3 jumbo elephants, guided by their trainer, had entered the ring directly in front of the section where Nancy and her friends were seated. The man turned to bow low to the audience. "Oh, it isn't Rye after all," Nancy murmured in disappointment. "I was deceived by his costume." "I was afraid we might not find him here," Carson Drew commented. For Nancy, the circus entertainment had lost its zest. She paid scant attention to the elephant act, and when it was over, whispered to her father that while the others were watching the remainder of the show, she intended to seek information regarding Rye from the circus manager. After making inquiry from a worker who was scrubbing out an animal cage, Nancy was directed to the official's tent. He was busy at his desk and looked slightly annoyed as she entered. "Anything I can do for you?" he asked, briskly in a tone which implied, "Please be brief." "I came to inquire if you have an elephant trainer in your employ by the name of Rye," Nancy answered. The manager pushed aside the papers on his desk regarding the girl with interest. "We did have," he answered. "Rye left the circus about 10 days ago to search for a young charge of his who mysteriously disappeared." "A boy named Koya?" "Yeah. Have you any information concerning him?" "I might have," Nancy returned evasively. "Tell me, was Koya the son of this man, Rye?" "I'm not certain. He called the boy his son, but I was under the impression that the two were not related. However, he was greatly upset when the lad disappeared and insisted upon leaving the circus to search for him." I don't know why I'm giving all the characters that aren't the main characters southern accents. I guess because that's the only accent I can do convincingly. "Then Rye never received my father's letter." "He received no letter offering any information about the boy. I'm sure of that." "I should like to ask another question," Nancy said. "Did you ever hear Rye mention a woman by the name of Allison? Anita Allison?" "The name sounds familiar. I have a vague feeling that in some way the two were connected. Rye always did a lot of wild talking. He often spoke of a mysterious treasure, and it seems to me Miss Allison's name was mentioned in one of these tales." "Did you ever hear Rye speak of an ivory charm?" The circus manager laughed ruefully. Yeah, Rye was superstitious. He believed in all sorts of evil and good omens. In some way, he lost an ivory elephant charm, and whenever anything went wrong on the lot, he claimed that it was because the piece was gone. Nancy was upon the verge of revealing that the trinket had been given to her, but the admission was never made, for just then a man appeared in the doorway of the tent to speak with the manager. Rye is back again, he announced. The fellow wants his old job and insists upon talking with you personally. Rye, the manager exclaimed. Well, if that ain't a coincidence. I'm making things up. It says isn't, but I put ain't. Send him in. A minute later, the Indian elephant trainer entered the tent. He bowed ingratiatingly to the manager, but the oily smile faded from his face as he observed Nancy. We meet at last, he said. I have searched the far corners of the state for you, and for my dear son Koya, who has been taken from me. Tell me, what have you done with the ivory charm? I still have it, Nancy admitted. Good. Excellent. You must return it to me, for since I gave the charm away, my luck has been most depressing. Because I lost the ivory charm, my son disappeared. Koya ran away because you abused him, Nancy corrected. You dare to tell Rye that his son was abused? The Indian cried angrily. A beating now and then is good for a boy. I have my own opinion, but I'll not argue with you. If you'll stand aside, I'll return to my friends. Rye's anger melted away, but he made no move to permit Nancy to pass. His manner became fawning. We have no quarrel, he purred. I can see that you are a young lady of great kindness and sympathy. Because of that, you will not wish Rye to come to misfortune. You will give me back my charm? I'll return it to you upon one condition. And what is that? You must tell me the truth about Koya's parentage. Rye hesitated and looked disturbed. Then he smiled. Certainly. The condition is easily met. Koya's mother died 12 years ago in India at the time of his birth. I, Koya's father, brought him to this country. You are not telling the truth, Nancy accused. Unless you do, I shall keep the charm. I know no other story, Rye protested. Then I cannot return your ivory trinket. Nancy turned as if to leave the tent. Do not go, Rye cried desperately. I would gladly tell you what you wish to know if I were able. Then you admit that I haven't learned the truth? Rye shrugged. The truth? What is it? Who can tell? Perhaps Anita Allison might know, but she is far away. What was that you said? Nancy questioned alertly. Rye had not intended the girl to hear his words. Certainly he had no suspicion that she was acquainted with Miss Allison. There is only one who might tell you more of Koya, he answered vaguely. She is beyond our reach. In that event, there is nothing more to say, Rye. I must go now. But my charm! The man cried frantically. You will give it to me? When you have fulfilled the condition I mentioned. But that is impossible. Then it is likewise impossible for me to return the charm. Wait! Rye commanded as Nancy once more moved away. I will try to find a way. I must see you again. We will talk of Koya then. I will meet you whenever you wish. Then 1 week from today. And the appointed place? I will write you a message. Very well, Nancy smiled. I'll wait until I hear from you. She felt confident that Rye would not fail to communicate with her, for his eagerness to recover the ivory charm was almost pathetic. Nancy thanked the circus manager for his interview, nodded briefly to Rye, and left the tent. She had walked scarcely a dozen rods when she was startled to hear a workman utter a cry of alarm. He ran toward her, waving her back. Look out! Look out! He yelled warningly. The elephants are stampeding! Old Tom has gone on the rampage again! Well, that was dramatic. Okay, I'll go ahead and read one more chapter. Yeah, I'll just keep going. So, Chapter 15, Kidnapped. And I don't get this. Why did they used to spell kidnapped as kidnaped? Like there's one P. That just, it doesn't make sense to me. Anyways. Nancy scarcely had time to spring back spring back and out of the way when the big elephant came charging angrily toward the manager's tent, the excited trainers in close pursuit. Others in the herd were milling about the lot or tugging nervously at their stakes. "Get that man Rye away!" the keeper shouted. "Old Tom knows he's here. He hates him like poison and will tear up the place to get at him." As if knowing that his enemy was inside the manager's tent, Old Tom plunged straight toward it. Rye, white with fright, appeared in the doorway, took one swift glance at the oncoming elephant, then turned and fled. Trumpeting in rage, Old Tom pursued him, bearing directly toward a group of children who stood in the path. With screams of terror, the boys and girls scattered, all save one who appeared too frightened to move. "Look out!" the keeper shouted, starting to run in that direction. Nancy knew that he was too far away to reach the child in time. With no thought for her own safety, she leaped forward and jerked the little girl aside. Nancy herself stumbled and fell headlong. "Don't move!" the keeper yelled. "Don't move!" Nancy obeyed, remaining perfectly quiet as the elephant dashed by only a few inches from where she lay. Old Tom was so intent upon reaching his hated enemy, Rye, that he did not even notice the girl. I don't like this. Instead of saying the Indian or whatever, they say the Hindu fled toward the main entrance gate to lose himself in the crowd. The huge animal became bewildered, and when the trainers dug their hooks into his flesh and hosed him with fodder, he submitted to their will. Not until the beast was securely chained down did Rye venture to return. "That elephant is dangerous," the manager of the circus said to the keeper. "We'll have to get rid of him." "Old Tom is all right," the other maintained. "He's the best elephant in the herd. Just keep Rye away from the lot and I'll have no trouble with him." The circus folk had gathered about Nancy to praise her warmly for her courage in rescuing the child. For Rye, they had only unspoken contempt. When the excitement had subsided, Nancy hastened back to search for her friends. The circus performance had ended for the afternoon, and the crowd poured out of the big tent. Carson Drew and the other members of his party, puzzled by the girl's long absence, had remained in their seats. "What kept you so long?" Mr. Drew asked, as his daughter mounted the board seats to join the group. "We were beginning to fear you had been eaten by a tiger." "I was nearly trampled to death by an elephant," Nancy smiled. Yeah, Nancy's smiling about being trampled to death. "Tell us something we'll believe," Bess laughed. "It's the truth. Didn't you hear the noise and shouting outside?" George shook her head. "The show went on the same as always. We did hear an unusual sound, but the band began to play just then and drowned it out. Old Tom the elephant went on a rampage. He seemed to know that Rye was here on the lot and wanted to avenge himself upon him for his past cruelty." "Rye!" Mr. Drew exclaimed. "Then he's still with the circus?" "He came back today and is trying to secure work again. I doubt if he will, though, for after the cowardly way in which he ran from the elephant today, he'll not be popular with the circus people." Nancy then gave a more detailed account of the trouble which had developed with Old Tom, and told of her conversation with Rye. When she spoke of offering her ivory charm to the man in payment for information regarding Koya, Bess cried out in disappointment. "Oh, Nancy, you surely didn't give away your lovely charm." "I didn't, because Rye refused to tell me the truth. However, I gleaned a hint that Anita Allison is the person who has the real key to Koya's mysterious parentage. Perhaps we can arrange to see the woman tomorrow," Mr. Drew suggested. "We don't know where he's staying. Where she's staying," Nancy reminded him. "No, it was a stupid oversight upon my part not to ask for her address, but they may have it at the bank if she ever goes there to claim her property." After idling about the circus grounds for some time, Nancy and her friends returned to their car. It was late afternoon when they started for River Heights. The roads were still jammed with automobiles, and the trip consumed far more time than it should have. Consulting his watch, Mr. Drew announced that it was dinner hour. "I suggest that we stop at the next eating place and have a bite," he proposed. "This will be my party." The young people eagerly assented, for in spite of the large quantities of peanuts and popcorn which they had consumed, they were still hungry. A half-mile farther on, Nancy noticed a brilliantly lighted inn just off the road. "It looks as presentable as the average place we're apt to find," Mr. Drew commented, turning in at the driveway. We may as well try it." Entering the main dining room, which was only half filled with guests, the party found a table for 5 near the window. After making her selection from the menu, Nancy glanced curiously at the other diners. Why, isn't that Anita Allison? The others turned to stare. It is, George agreed, and she's with Steve Roach. It's Steve! I believe I'll go and speak to her, Nancy said impulsively. If I were you, I'd not break into the conversation just yet, Mr. Drew cautioned. Miss Allison and her friend seemed to be engaged in an argument of some sort. The couple talked earnestly together, totally oblivious of the other diners in the room. Their voices rose higher and higher until Nancy and her friends caught enough to deduce that the pair were discussing the sale of Miss Allison's property. The argument seems to be nearly over now, Nancy presently observed. If you'll excuse me, I'll go and speak to them. You might ask Miss Allison for her address, Mr. Drew suggested. I had intended to do that, Dad. Nancy approached the table at the opposite side of the room and spoke Miss Allison's name. The woman started, and as she recognized the girl, she made a pretense of welcoming her. Steve Roach scowled openly as he arose and offered Nancy a chair. I must apologize for interrupting your conversation, Nancy said. I shouldn't trouble you, except that I have a rather important matter to discuss with you. Perhaps another time, Miss Allison began. Oh, I didn't mean that I wish to talk with you here, but I'm eager to secure your present address so that I can find you again. Miss Allison and her companion exchanged swift glances which were not lost upon Nancy. I moved about from place to place, the woman answered vaguely. But you surely have an address. There must be some way to communicate with you. Just write a letter in care of general delivery, then I can be sure of getting it. Nancy was annoyed. She felt that the woman did not wish to give accurate information regarding her whereabouts. However, realizing that it would be useless to pursue the matter further, the girl politely withdrew to her own table. Simultaneously, Miss Allison and Steve Roach left the place without finishing their dinner. I don't like Miss Allison's attitude, Nancy complained to her father. The least she could do would be to show a little appreciation for the way you and Ned saved her old treasure. It was late when Carson Drew and his daughter reached home. They noticed a light burning in the room over the garage and could glimpse Koya bending over his books. Everyone was proud that the Indian boy was making such splendid progress with his studies. Professor Stackpole frequently boasted of his young pupil's ability, and these remarks were not always confined to Nancy or Mr. Drew. The day following the visit to the circus, Nancy wrote a long letter to Miss Allison in which she asked many questions concerning Koya's parentage. She frowned as she had addressed the envelope in care of general delivery. If Miss Allison doesn't wish to answer, she'll claim she never received the letter, Nancy told herself. In sending this, I feel confident I'm wasting my time. I can't talk anymore. The message was dispatched and temporarily forgotten. That evening, while attending a party given at the home of Mrs. Dreyfus Winterhouse, a River Heights Society matron, Nancy chanced to overhear Professor Stackpole speak of Koya to his hostess, praising the boy highly. With the best of intentions, Mrs. Winterhouse, a few days later, repeated the entire conversation to Miss Allison, who happened to belong to the same cultural club. The latter listened intently, asked a few questions, and by putting 2 and 2 together, shrewdly guessed that Koya had been living at the Drew home since his mysterious disappearance from the circus. She immediately communicated with Rye, telling him what she had learned. Trust everything to Rye, the man responded grimly. Within 24 hours, Koya will be in our hands again. Unaware that the boy faced danger, Nancy and her father spent the following evening at a moving picture show. Hannah Gruen likewise was absent from the house, for she had been called to the home of a relative. At 10 o'clock, when Rye stealthily approached the Drew residence, he instantly noted that the place was dark. A light glowed in the room above the garage where Koya was studying his lessons. For some minutes, the man stood by the shrubbery watching the boy at his work. Then quietly he stole up the stairway to the lad's room. From his pocket he removed a drug-soaked handkerchief. A creaking floorboard warned Koya of danger. He turned and saw Rye creeping toward him. Before the boy could utter a cry, the man sprang upon him, forcing the handkerchief against his face. Koya struggled briefly, then relaxed into a limp heap. Chuckling wickedly, Rise slung the lad over his shoulder and carried him down the stairway to a waiting car. And that is the perfect place to end the read stream. So, what did you find odd when you read these books, CJ? I'm sorry, it was out of context when I read it, so I don't remember what you're talking about. Sorry, Nancy thinks being crushed is fun. I was nearly squashed! Did I miss announcements? I'm at work. Hi, HS! You did, but I am happy to tell you again. Yes, I will fill you in. Are you here? Are you still here? I'll probably say something in Discord too. But I don't want to repeat myself if you're not here. Loving the sitar music, by the way. Yay! I'm glad somebody appreciated it. I went from Animal Crossing to Dungeons and Dragons, which was, so Animal Crossing was too mellow, Dungeons and Dragons was too intense, and then I was like, wait, this has like an Indian theme, why don't we do like traditional Indian music? Duh. So, Steve alert. Welcome for clapping. Thank you. I'm here. Okay. Oh, hi V. Sitting in the airport in Pittsburgh. Just found out my first flight is delayed, so here's to hoping I won't miss my connector. Yes, this music is perfect. Aw. Good. I'm glad you guys like it. Well, welcome back, V. I'm glad you're back because I'm about to tell HS my announcements. I just finished reading, and that's where I'm stopping today. So I'll fill you in for the people who missed it. So, my big news is that I finally got a job. I got a part-time job at a library branch here. It's not the main one, but I didn't want the main one necessarily. I wanted a smaller branch. It's on the other side of town, but it's not a big deal because it's just like 15 minutes. But anyways, it's part-time. Yes, the Borders Library. That's what it is. It's official. I start training on Thursday, which is why my stream on Thursday will be kind of up in the air because I don't know what time I'll get home yet. Supposed to finish at 2, but we'll see. So yeah, that's really exciting. That's pretty much, I'm just excited about it. And nervous. And you know about the fall grad school, that's kind of an old announcement. The other announcement is that thank you. Thanks. Don't make me cry. Oh, I'm tearing up. I'm sorry. That's sweet of you to say, Lexi. I appreciate it. I applied a lot. I just finally got it. I think it took like 6 months, which I was kind of thinking it would be a year, but yeah, thanks. So my other announcement is that, this is really random, but I'm going to be ending up going to Shanghai at the end of May. My friend is she's doing a conference for her work, and she's giving a keynote speech, and she invited me to go, and I was like, well, I don't know if I can make it unless I just happen to get a good flight deal. Well, I happen to get a good flight deal. So, I'm making it work. I'm taking the opportunity to go because, yes, I mean, it's still kind of expensive because it's an international flight, but I don't have to pay for it. After I said no international travel, right? I really didn't think I would be going out of the country again this year. But I am. And I can't be more excited, you know, because you guys know I love to travel. So that's at the end of May, and yeah, I'm really excited. I won't have to pay for any lodging because I'm going with her, and it's a work thing, so her work's paying for the lodging, so that's really nice. And she has friends who live in Shanghai that are wanting to take us around, so that's cool too. So we have guides, and my Mandarin is really bad, so I would not be able to get us around, and I'm sure most everybody speaks Shanghainese there too, which is completely different. It's like a different language altogether. So yeah, it is super cool. Thank you guys so much, and you guys supporting me throughout the whole process. I mean, kept encouraging me, and you were there for me when I was, you know, down when I didn't get a job, so I appreciate you all. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. The other thing is, at 150 followers, I will be doing a giveaway for a Nancy Drew book. I don't know which one yet because I need to go through my inventory and see what all my duplicates are. We demand lots of pics. So yeah, I probably won't be able to... You know what? I don't know if I could get on Discord when I'm there. I'm guessing not. Probably not. I would think Discord is blocked. I'll probably just not. It's a real short trip. It's like not even a week. So I'll probably just update you guys when I get back. But yeah, I'm going to put a countdown on my chat, and I'll let you guys know before I go so you know when I'm gone. This music is relaxing me. That's good! It is really relaxing. And yeah, I will take lots of pictures. I may end up taking the camera, which is actually sitting over here. I may take a camera because I'm not going to take my regular phone. I haven't figured that out quite yet. But yeah, I'll probably take a phone break, honestly, and just use it to like talk to Keegan and use it to get around and stuff. I actually like sitar music. My sister can't stand it. I like it too. I mean, I can understand that it's like pretty specific and for an attuned palette that, yeah, it's just what did they say? I can't think straight. You know that one phrase? I did a report on Indian music in college. Yeah! Yeah, I learned about it in my world music class. I need some water. Ethnomusicology. That's cool. We couldn't take anything like ethnomusicology because that was for music majors only. I played the game Gamelan. Oh, the Gamelan. I got like a frog in my throat. Anyways, I need to go so I can have some lunch and watch the weather because we're under a tornado watch. So, thank you guys so much for being here. I will be back tomorrow. I think tomorrow's a morning stream. We're gonna do Indie Sims tomorrow, I think at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Go eat the lunch! I hope you all will be here for that, because I'd like to... I'm gonna fix my list and my system, but I would like to draw from people that are in the chat as much as possible. So, I hope you can make it. I really enjoyed that class. I liked mine too. You know, everybody said it was a blow-off class because it's your... ours was our upper division fine arts credit, so, you know, you got all kinds of people in that class. Jocks, bros, non-music majors, but, like, also people interested in music, so we had a whole mix. But, yeah, I felt like there was this one guy who was, like, really into it, but he wasn't even a music major, and he kept saying things and, like, trying to throw music theory into whatever he was answering, and he was always wrong about the theory, and I was like, dude, stop pretending like you know what you're talking about. It's embarrassing you. But anyways, wasn't even for a music class. Oh, I did a report on gamelan in college. It was for anthropology. Interesting. Yeah, you know those people. You know those people. It's annoying. It's just like, shut up, dude. The professor was always like, well, that's a good try, but no. Okay, and the other thing, this isn't really an announcement, it's just like something that A for effort. It's just something I kind of came up with in the moment, but that I'd really like to do. So V, shout out, V Budkey is doing her SpongeBob themed charity month in May. It's ALS, right? Is that what you're doing? I kind of realized I would like to do that and do it for the American Brain Tumor Association because May is Brain Tumor Awareness Month. So I thought that would be good. V, I may DM you about that stuff because I'm not sure exactly how to go about doing it. So I may kind of pick your brain to figure out what you're doing. ALS, okay. Cool. So, yeah. This has been a stream where I just ramble on and on. And, yeah. I think I should let you go, since that's what took Hillenberg from us. Yeah, gotcha. So, anyways, it was made way more easy than I expected it to be. Okay, cool. Cool. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. V, have a safe flight back home. Let us know when you get home. And I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow for Indie Sims. Let me see if anybody is on that I'd like to host or raid. Possibly. I just always forget to do it. Abraham Lincoln. Cheese Whiz. General Thug. I'm just gonna host somebody. I'm gonna host Abraham Lincoln. It's oh my gosh, I just Diana Hutton. I forgot how to say her name, but she plays Kate Marsh in Life is Strange, and she does her own streaming. She's playing Stardew. It looks like she's doing charity stream with giveaways, so I will just leave you with a host because I'm too shy to raid her. But yeah. Kate! Thank you guys for the stream. Hope to see you soon. Go over to Dan. I really need to check if that's how you pronounce her name. If you want to check her out. So, okay. See you guys later. Bye.